Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Welcome to the Nourishing Traditions, and today we will be talking about drainage of emunctory organs. So, there are five major emunctory organs which can be drained, and these are the intestines, the kidney, the lungs, the skin, and liver. Today I want to discuss about intestines because everybody is fasting, and this is the month of Ramadan. So, opening up the emunctories really means ridding them of waste and maintaining them in proper working order through stimulation. Now, in Ramadan, we are not in doing intermittent fasting. These are not wet fasts, these are the dry fasts. So, the best thing about dry fast is that any gluey um, or mucus waste which is accumulated in any part of the body, it dries up because water is the one which the waste or the toxins are dissolved, and the body, when it is trying to hydrate itself with water which is already present in the body and not taking any exogenous sources of water, it is trying to dry up all the watery glues which have been accumulated in the mucosa or in the sinuses or somewhere in lungs. The dry fast in Ramadan really helps to to get rid of the gooey or the glue toxins. Now, as the opening of the emunctories, they affect easily by eliminating circulating waste, and so is fast or mono diets. They also open up emunctories, and they, especially the fast, they deeply affect the set waste in the body, and it should not be necessary to follow a strict diet during the preparation phase, and much of the work of eliminating toxins is done by the drainage action itself. So, in the preparation phase, you absolutely check your diet every time you want to be on a mono diet. So, mono diet would be if you're consuming one vegetable, you would stick to either juicing it or eating it. And juicing does involve uh, completely juicing with the peel of the whole vegetable. And the choice of vegetables really depend upon what kind of underlying conditions are lying. What are you dealing with? Is it rheumatism? Is it asthma? Is it eczema? Is it any kind of acne? Or these all these manifestations of these illnesses, they are related to a particular organ within the body. Today, well, this is the first week of Ramadan, and Ramadan Mubarak to all my audience. So, we will be discussing intestinal drainage. And intestinal drainage, it deeply aims at emptying the intestines of the entire content, of course, and the colon and the duodenum and the small intestines, which is also known as the small intestine and the large intestine. And as people who take laxatives for the first time will notice that, um, or the people who do take laxatives, they already know that when you detox the intestine, you really feel light, and there is a bulk of stool which comes either just at one time or in two to three, or it may be up to four times a day. And this means that your fecal matter with everything, any bacterial dead bacteria or any dead cells or anything, is absolutely the body get rid of it. And the body, especially the intestine, is trying hard through peristalsis. And the peristalsis is definitely increased after using the contractility of the intestinal mucosa is increased after using laxatives. So, laxatives should be stopped after 5 to 7 days, just because so you don't stop absorbing nutrients, which is you need nutrients to be absorbed through a slow or gradual peristalsis. So, we discussed maybe in the last videos, there is a hard crust which develops around the intestinal wall, and that could be because of the 5 years old chocolate cookie which your mom made, or a couple of months old hot dog, or any processed food, pancakes, or anything which you consumed in the past years, and that creates a hard crust around the intestinal wall over time. So, the assimilation of toxins by intestinal wall, it should be prevented, and the intestinal transit, it should be reestablished. So these are our goals after intestinal drainage, and the body should be allowed to force toxins out of the tissues and eliminate waste through the exit, which is now open and which is now deeply cleansing itself, that is the colon. So there are things which can be done with the colon, like colon irrigation, enemas, and mild laxatives. And in when we come to enemas, an enema consists in introducing water into the colon in order to dissolve matter and facilitate its ejection with the liquid. So to introduce the liquid, one must use an enema, which can be found in specialized retail stores, or you can check your pharmacist if it is available in your nearby pharmacy. And then colon irrigation is a similar process, except that the cannula contains two ducts, so thus allowing the simultaneous entrance and exit of the liquid. The Firstly, the liquid is introduced to fill the entire colon, and the cannula is then opened, allowing the water and fecal matter to exit. And colon irrigations are extremely effective way to clean the colon. However, they require a special apparatus and a follow up by a therapist. So make sure that your therapist know that you are undergoing colon irrigations. Now, the third A are purge cure. So before an enema, it is common practice to purge one's intestines in order to eliminate most of the waste. And there are many forms of purges. So ready to use would be a purgative lemonades, which can be purchased on online or from a pharmacy. And however, this process is somewhat aggressive and is not recommended for people who have sensitive intestines. So these should be used by those people who are using mild laxatives, or those, yeah, those who have already used laxatives and colon irrigations. They can now come to the purge cure, or unless if you want to see if purge cure really works for you. So there are milder salts which you can use, and one of them is magnesium sulfate, which is also known as the Epsom salt. Is a very good laxative with an abrasive action on dry waste that sticks to the intestinal walls through years. So how to use it? 1 to 2 teaspoon of Epsom salt, which is crystals and not powder form, in hot water, and then just upon awakening, you can consume it for 8 days. Now, the second one is magnesium hyposulfite, which should be taken in tablet form just half an hour before the two meals. So it will be taken before two major meals of the day. Then third one is magnesium hydrate, which is 1 to 2 teaspoon with water before going to bed. And the fourth is magnesium chloride, which is 20 grams in a liter of water. Take 2 to 3 tablespoons or more of this mixture every day. And this salt is also known for its capacity to increase the body's resistance during infection. In this case, take 2 teaspoons every hour. So there is a good purge in the book on fasting by Dr. Berthlet from Lausanne, and it seems to be well tolerated. Now that is 40 to 45 grams of magnesia citrate, as well as 10 to 15 grams of salt intake in 1 liter of warm water and drink within 1 hour. So the effect is quite noticeable within few hours, and you will feel that you want to go to the loo. Now, there are other mild laxatives which we can talk about, and they come from medicinal plants. Laxatives which we can talk about, and they come from medicinal plants. They stimulate the intestine and cause them to flush. So these plants they do not irrigate or tire the intestine, and they may therefore be used on daily basis during the cure. Depending upon the person, how you want to do your um, laxatives cure, and they can also replace any mess. So number one would be an example of mild laxative is the psyllium seeds, which is also known as ispagol. They are rich in mucilage and they fill the intestine with a roughage, slowly stimulating peristalsis. So these are indicated for constipation, which is due to a lack of roughage, and mostly when a person's peristalsis movements are really slowed down, which could be either due to any drugs or which could be because the person is not consuming enough fiber in his diet and it has a very starchy, oily diet. So, around 1 to 2 tablespoons of seeds, which are soaked for half an hour in a glass of water, and they can increase in volume slowly and then drink it half an hour before the evening meal, and it will really want you to go to the loo. And the second one is flax seeds. So the mode of action of flaxseed is very similar to that of bran. If you can consume bran, flax seeds they stimulate intestinal peristalsis due to the fiber contained in it and mucilage, which makes it swell. So these are rich in oil and it lubricates the intestine and favors the passage of food because they also have a gentler action on just like that of bran, so that would also stimulate peristalsis, assuming that there is food in the intestines which needs to be eliminated. So 1 to 2 spoonfuls of flax seeds, ground or not, it's your choice. And they can be chewed since they have a good, nice taste. Certain people they prefer letting it swell in water for a few hours before eating it, so you get that mucilage thing and the filling thing to the intestine. The famous Budwig cream, which is made with flax seeds, is particularly effective in stimulating the intestinal peristalsis. And the fourth is manna ash. So manna is a mild laxative that contains sugars, and the body doesn't metabolize these sugars in a very large degree. These are probably big molecules of sugars, and they create an osmotic effect and give the herb its laxative property. So it can be given to children, to adults, seniors. The fifth is the mallow family, and such as Malva sylvestris, has an laxative effect by lubricating the stool. It's emollient, softening, and particularly good for people with poor treated and chronic constipation, so who have really abused laxatives in the past. And these herbs are generally prepared as an infusion. Although this laxative is not so irritating, it should be only used on a short term basis, and it can be used in children, adults, and seniors. Now we move on to another form of laxatives, which is the stimulating laxatives. So there are many examples of it, and the one which I really love, and it is mentioned in the Binabobi, but that is prophetic medicine, is senna maki, and senna maki leaves they can be brewed in a cup of water, and you can sip it at night, so you have a good relieving stool in the morning. It's very powerful, irrigating laxative. It has the same indications and contraindications as buckthorn. So buckthorn is in itself a purging laxative, and the scientific name is Rhamnus cathartica. So cathartica, you can say it's a kind of cathartic, and it's powerful. and it should be kept for occasional and short-term use for constipation. It should not be used more than 7 days. It should only be used for adults, and it is contraindicated in children and pregnant women. So, once the constipation is treated, the intestine needs to be re educated through physical activity, consumption of dietary fiber, vegetables, good hydration, and you can move back to isbagol. That's psyllium fiber. So about senna, that senna has been used in hospitals to prepare intestines before an endoscopy. So that's a very powerful use of senna. Cascara is another herb which is irritating. It has the same indications and contraindications as buckthorn, so cannot be used in children and pregnant women. Castor oil is very strong laxative, purgative, and while many laxatives they act on the colon, castor oil acts on the intestines, and this is a very strong use of castor oil if you want to work on your intestines. It is unpleasant. The smell is unpleasant, so you can find it in capsule form if you don't want to consume it in oral form as raw castor oil. It belongs to the category of stimulant laxatives, and contrary to senna, buckthorn, and cascara, whose laxative action is through anthraconoids, castor oil owes its laxative action to a fatty acid called ricinoleic acid, which is present in the castor oil seed, and it should not be used on short-term basis like all laxatives in this class. um, Sorry, I said not. It should be only used on short-term basis, like all laxatives in this class, and not used more than 7 days. So, last but not least is alder buckthorn. The scientific name is Rhamnus fragula. It is a powerful purgative. Its laxative action is generally less powerful than using buckthorn or cascara, irritating, and then again should be used occasionally. The last is aloe vera. So, aloe latex is a powerful and irritating laxative because of its anthracene derivatives. It must only be used occasionally. So, there are certain plants which you can consume during your intestinal drainage, and those plants are eggplants, beets, carrots, chervil, chicory, cabbage, pumpkin, spinach, lettuce, and leeks, tomatoes, and Jerusalem artichoke. Jerusalem artichoke also works on the liver, so you're hitting two birds with one stone with Jerusalem artichokes, liver, and intestines. And as far as fruits are concerned, during your liver emunctory drainage, you can consume apricots, almonds, cherries, prunes, figs, rhubarb, gooseberries, melon, blackberries, olives, oranges, and plums. So these foods can also be used in a diet or a combination. You can create a salad out of it or a mono diet, or if you're doing juicing, you can just pick one vegetable during one time. And during the cherry season, for example, one could go on 1 or 2 day mono diet. For example, the more cellulose is absorbed, the higher the laxative effect of the diet will be. So, thick vegetable soups are excellent in terms of cellulose absorption. Cellulose acts like a broom in the intestines, and as it triggers peristalsis and stimulates nearby nerves, all one needs to do is to toss a few vegetables into the blender, or if you have a NutriBlend, that's great. Add some water and spices according to your taste, a little bit of Himalayan salt. Then dried figs and prunes can also be soaked in water, and most likely dried figs. They we soak 3 figs um, in a glass of water for about 12 hours. Then we eat the figs early morning, drink the water. If you want to do it in the evening, make sure you have an empty stomach, and you can follow this diet for 2 to 3 months. And the same goes for prunes. So, prunes usually we soak 5 prunes or more in a glass of water for about 12 hours. Then we eat the prunes and drink the water. This can be done either in the early morning or right before evening on an empty stomach. There's no contraindication in these two diets, and they can be followed for several months. And as you know, Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he used to soak 2 to 3 dates in water overnight, and in the morning he would take out the dates, chew the dates, spit the seed in it, and drink its water. So this is also from Sunnah, and it has a lot of benefits when it comes to intestinal drainage. So this was our video on the main emunctory organ, which is the liver, which is sorry, the intestines, and next will be liver, inshallah, in the next videos. So I hope you liked today's video, and happy Ramadan. Wassalam.